The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, welcome. We're going to get started with the webinar. We're going to do developing 360-degree plugins for the new RICOH THETA. If that was the webinar you were expecting, you've come to the right place. I think you should be able to see my webcam because I'm going to show the THETA. Here it is, the new THETA V. I'm going to be showing the THETA a little bit, and we're going to get started. So I'm Jesse Casman. I help run the theta360.guide site, where we do all sorts of developer tutorials, videos, all kinds of information that help you develop using the RICOH THETA. A few items about the webinar. If you want to ask questions, you're welcome to do so. There should be a little icon or a chat window either down in the lower right or somewhere nearby. It may be expanded already, it may not. You can click on that chat and ask questions at any time. We'll try and get to them at the end. I'll be doing a fair amount of stuff back and forwards. And so at any time, ask your questions. So I've been using the THETA for at least 3.5 years, since the M15 model. It's a really powerful camera. The new THETA V, which I assume you've heard about, is loaded with a whole bunch of really powerful features. It's got 4K 360-degree video. It's got 4K streaming. It's got spatial audio and all sorts of other fantastic hardware that you can use. The interesting thing is this is the first model that's based on the Android OS. And so that allows developers incredible access to the inside of the camera, and really is something special. And we're going to start digging into that here today. You have to unlock a THETA V in order to do development on it. Currently, what this means is you have to physically get your THETA V to RICOH or to the theta360.guide team. That's me. If you've been on the site, you've also run into Craig Oda, my business partner. He comes, his online thing is Codetricity, so you've probably run into him. You contact us, you get your V unlocked, and then you'll be able to do all these cool things with the insides. The really great thing about the THETA is because it's the standard Android environment, the commands that you're going to be using are going to be rather familiar. The Android camera commands are the same. You add parameters to send along with them when there are specific THETA commands that you want, but those types of things are going to look really familiar and useful. Okay, so I'm looking through over here on my agenda a little bit. I'll just quickly touch on the things that we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at the unlocked THETA V. I'm going to hold it up again because I think it's a beautiful piece of machinery. We're also going to be using Android SDK, in particular the Android Studio, and ADB, the Android Debug Bridge. We're going to look at the THETA Plug-in SDK, which includes the sample plugin application that we're going to manipulate a bit. And also I'm going to point out the plugin library that comes with it. The THETA V is really cool. It's very interesting how it's if you're familiar with Android mobile development, it's going to look really familiar. However, it doesn't have an LCD. There's no screen on it. So you're going to need some way to control it from your development machine. And there's lots of tools to do that with, but Vysor is one that we're using today. And so we're going to show you that and work through it. At all times, what we're doing is referring to a main community guide. So I'm going to point this to you now. And in fact, you can go ahead and come over to theta360.guide, type this into your browser. This is the main community site. On the front page, here's a plugin. So you're going to jump over, the webinar is focused on this documentation. So you'll see the first 3 sections here, overview. We're doing a little bit of that now. Requirements, you'll find out exactly what you need for development. And setup here in a second, I'm going to be walking through this. We're also going to go and do some the plugin use using Vysor, like I mentioned, and even just a little bit of custom development today. But if you've got this open, you're reading it as we're walking through the webinar, you'll see more details. It'll be pretty useful. A second thing I'm going to refer to is the SDK and the api.ricoh site. I'm going to point this to you here. These URLs are here on the screen. You should be able to see them. But you can get the SDK right now. In fact, I encourage you to go ahead and download it. If you come over, if you can see the full URL, and I don't keep clicking it away and confusing you, you've got that, api.ricoh/docs/theta-plugin. If you just come to api.ricoh, under documentation, you'll see the RICOH THETA Plug-in. And when you come in here, there's an SDK link. And you're over at GitHub already. The great thing is, go ahead and download this. You can download the zip, or if you clone it locally and have your own repo, you can start looking at the details as we're doing it. You can look at it on your own machine. So by all means, download it. I'm going to suck that into Android Studio, and you can too. You can run it on your local machine. So I started to point out the resources here. We've got the theta360.guide and the api.ricoh site. I just point out theta360.guide is an independent site. It's a community site. It's developed by the community. I mentioned Craig, myself, and others have dug in and placed a lot of information there. The RICOH site obviously is the official site, and that's where you'll get the SDK and the API and things like that. But RICOH is extremely supportive of the theta360.guide site. Craig and I are not only involved in the community, we're paid as consultants, and so there's a very good, strong connection there. So we've got the GitHub site that I just showed you. I also wanted to point out, as part of the theta360.guide, there's a YouTube channel, Theta360 Developers. Lots of good tips and tricks. This is hardware, so sometimes seeing the cabling setup or the exact details is better in a video. Today we're going to use Vysor. I'll show you some of the details. There are a few sort of setups that I'm not going to go over in the webinar, but videos on the YouTube channel will help out a lot. Okay, and then there's also the tool that we're going to be using is Vysor. I'm just showing you the site. You could go and grab this too as well, even if you don't have the Theta V, though I'm hoping you do. You can grab this and try and manipulate your Android phone and get used to it. It's quite easy to use. In fact, maybe I'll try a quick poll. If you can use your chat window that I pointed out before, how many of you do have a V? If you have one, please say so. If you don't, please say so. If you could just drop that in the chat window, I'd like to get a feel of how many are actually going to be interested in working on their V. All right. Yep, good. Looks like we have people who have the V. Maybe one or two that don't. Okay. All right. Well, you can learn a lot of information here and make your decision about whether the V is something that you want to be doing with development and otherwise. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look inside the RICOH THETA V. So I've got it connected here by USB. You can see it's connected. It's a little bit of a short cable, so can't show it to you too well. But I've got Vysor here. I'm going to start it up. All right, it's good. It's already listed the RICOH THETA V. That's good news. I'll click View. So what you're getting is an inside view of the camera. And great. You're looking at the apps that are running on the camera, and you'll see this looks parts of this look very familiar. There's things, settings, file manager, calculator, those sorts of things that are kind of normal in any Android device. I'll point you to the upper right, the remote playback, and also below it, USB storage. These are two plugins that RICOH sends with the camera. These are great, so you can test and use them. They extend the functionality of the camera already quite a bit, and are pretty interesting. They're worth testing and looking at. I'm going to point out that there are 10 apps here, 442. Not that the number is important, but we're going to add a plugin and do a couple other things. So I kind of want you to notice that. All right, so I'm going to start up Android Studio. There it is. Looking pretty good. Looks pretty normal. You're going to import a project. I actually had already downloaded the SDK, obviously, but if I just downloaded it, I'd open it up. And this is pretty great. You can see here theta-plugin-SDK-master. That's what we wanted. There are quite a few components of this. I'm just going to quickly open it up and look in the main app. And you come to the main activity page, main activity section, the code. It just does a couple simple things. We've got a section here where we're taking a picture. And we've got a section here where we're doing something controlling the LED colors, a few things like that. You can dig through this and get more familiar with it yourself. But I'd also like to just point out the library. There's a library that comes with this that does quite a few different things. You can inspect it yourself. You know, there's key codes. There's all sorts of stuff. You know, down in here, you're looking at setting LED colors. You're setting the LED targets. These are all quite useful things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this basic plugin and then place it on the camera. And so we've got it here. I'm going to build it. It should be pretty zippy because, like I said, this is an example plugin. So we're building Gradle build running. That looks healthy. I'm happy with that. By the way, we're on to the next one, right? We look inside. Now we're going to open up the SDK. All right, so we've done that. Nice, we built it. You can check different things, but maybe you want to locate it because you're going to care where it is on your local machine. This app-debug Android package. On my machine, it's quite a long file name, but all right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put it on the camera using the ADB, the Android debug bridge. And first, let's just use ADB. It comes as part of Android Studio. In the guide, if you haven't set your path, if you haven't done things like that, maybe there's small details like that, but ADB is already installed. I'm going to just check using ADB to see if my theta is attached. I already looked at it with Vysor, so I'm pretty convinced it is. Nice. I happen to know that's the serial number, but let me get a little more information. Oops. Helps if you spell it right. Great, so there's the serial number. It shows you some USB information, and then I just happen to like this, that it sort of confirms. Yeah, that's the RICOH THETA V. Okay, so you can use ADB to install. You use a -R to force it. Since my path name is pretty long, I'm pretty sure I have this in my history here. So I'm doing ADB install -R and pushing it to the camera. Oh, success. I like that a lot. Okay, so I'm going to open up Vysor just to check and see that it's there. Hey, looking good. So I told you before there were 10, now there's 11. There's also this cool, it's a default Android app icon, but here it is. It's on the machine. So, okay, we're gonna I've got my Android running here, and I'm gonna first I got to put it in the plug-in mode. So you press the mode button, and you can see that it changed from blue to white. So I'm in the plug-in mode. I've installed the plugin, and I'm going to take a picture with it. I'm going to press the main shutter button, and I want you to pay attention to this because it's going to be important later. So everyone smile. Oh, nice. I like that shutter sound. All right. Vysor was doing lots of things here, but let's see if it recorded a picture. So I'm going to go into File Manager. This is me holding up one finger. I'm pretty convinced that that's the picture there. Actually, I took one earlier, so you can see there's a second one that's similar there. But this time date stamp 11/15, I'm convinced that's the new one. So that's good. It's working. We're very happy. I'm going to go back over now because I'd like to try and manipulate the plugin just a little bit. There's a lot of things you could do here. For the webinar, what we're going to do, I'm going to take a look. We installed the SDK. We took a picture. We're going to do a simple edit and rebuild the plugin application. Okay, so there's lots of things you could do. One thing I noticed that's kind of obvious, I told you the shutter button is that main core one. We can change that. That's pretty cool. You can, yeah, okay, it's already in. I'm remapping it now to on the side, there's 3 different buttons. I'm going to map it to this middle Wi-Fi one and see if that works. So I've got to save my edits, and I've got to rebuild it. RICOH build running. Pretty slick. All right, looks like we built it. I'm happy with that. So over here, we've got the rebuilt one. We're going to do an ADB install. The -R is the force function, so it'll overwrite, hopefully, whatever's there. Success. I love seeing that. So we're going to, if I look at Vysor now, it's not going to really show me that much, but I'll do it. Okay, still there. I don't know whether it's edited or not. So the one thing you do need to do is I'm going to need to reboot my my Theta. I'm going to bring it out of plug-in mode. It's going to make a beep, beep, beep sound. There we go. That's good. All right, and then I'm going to reboot it once. So I'm shutting down. That unhappy face is a good thing because we're disconnected. All right, I'm going to reboot it. It's coming back up. All right, looks like we're back up. So I'm going to go back into plug-in mode. Good, it turned white, so I know it's in plug-in mode. All right, before we came in, we pressed the main shutter button. Let's try that. Pressing it. Oh, not happening. Hopefully. I'm going to go on the side. I'm going to press the Wi-Fi button. I think this is, we've set this as the shutter now. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Let's take a look. I think we took a picture, but let's check it out. Down in the file manager. Looks like we've got one that's new. I'm holding up 2 fingers. In the first one, I was holding up 1. So pretty good. So at its core, that's what the Theta V can do. You can see how you can install a plugin. You can use things like Android Studio and Vysor to be doing sort of the key development techniques. If you want to, I'd like to take your questions. I see we already have some coming in. And go ahead and keep asking any questions. They flow in, and I get them in the window here. Let's see, just making sure I get them all. I've got multiple things going on here, so excuse me for just trying to get it all pulled together. That's good. Okay, so here's one from Steve. How do end users select the plugin? Yeah, okay, great question. So you saw in Vysor that there can be multiple plugins. So in this instance here, you've got the USB storage, the remote playback. These are 2 by RICOH, and then you've got this plugin application that we just installed and customized. Basically, you use the THETA official app to go into, there's now a section that allows you to see all of the plugins that are installed on the THETA V, and you choose them there. So it's only one plugin that runs at a time. You choose it through the mobile app. There's a similar one here from Dave. Can multiple plugins be installed? Yeah, so you can see here in Vysor multiple plugins, and that's perfectly fine. You only run one at a time, and so there is that. This is interesting. I guess everyone's asking sort of the similar ones about the plugins. Yeah, let me add one thing also. You could potentially create your own configuration app that would set the default plugin yourself. So right now, the solution is to use the RICOH THETA app and set it that way. But as you're building your plugin, and you could easily create, we're seeing this happen, a configuration app that sets it up and could select your plugin as the plugin that's being run. Here's a question from Lisa. She's asking about the RICOH plugins. Does RICOH develop plugins themselves, and are developers in competition with those plugins? Absolutely not. The idea from RICOH is to show what can be done, to add some functionality out there. In fact, I have this open. There is a roadmap for the plugins that RICOH is going to be developing. You can see they've come out, they categorize them in different ways. On the left is camera control, external device linkage, and cloud connectivity. And then they've got them over this year. Remote playback and the USB data transfer, you can already see them. They're already out and available. They're doing some with facial blur and uploading, wireless uploading to cloud services, and more throughout the year. Actually, at the end of the year, the smart device being able to talk to the THETA V is pretty damn cool. They're in the RICOH THETA guide, by the way. There's these fun tests section, so there's all sorts of information here that's worth digging through. There's these fun tests. These are not totally complete. They're kind of a guesstimate of what's available. But sound is an interesting part of it. So here we've been able to play sound files through the RICOH THETA V, the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. Pretty interesting to hear that coming out of the speakers. We've also, you can install different apps on the V. It's Android, so there's an awful lot that are available. Facebook Messenger, we were able to do it with some significant limitations. It was not 360 and it was one way, but we used Facebook Messenger through the THETA V to stream video and one way be talking. So there's a whole bunch of interesting things you can do that way. So my point being, RICOH's building these plugins and has this roadmap that they've made public. But if you can build better stuff, if you can build the same stuff but faster, by all means. It's the idea is that the development environment is open for you to build and make interesting stuff. Okay, I had an email from a person earlier, John. He was asking about how can I improve the accuracy of the GPS data that is stored in the image EXIF data? The data in the images that I've shot is fairly low res, while I can get better quality position logging on my phone controlling theta. I think this is a good question. GPS is not inside the camera. There is no GPS functionality. So RICOH has done it. Other developers have done it where they use the connected smartphone to do to grab the GPS data and build something that way. So if you're building a V plugin that has no connection with a smartphone, then the GPS stuff is going to be an issue. John also asked, I want my theta upload to S3. Yeah, you can see on this a roadmap that pretty soon we should be getting this file cloud upload and wireless live streaming plugin as an example from RICOH. Also, wireless connectivity within Android is pretty straightforward, and so you certainly can build it yourself. Those are definitely things that would be good. So you could imagine a Theta V that has your plugin in it. The end user goes out and takes pictures all day long. When it comes back to the local network, the plugin recognizes that, logs in, uploads to a certain account. Maybe then you could even do some sort of post-processing. From an end user standpoint, point of view, that's pretty slick. John also asked, are there any hints or tricks for extending battery life, low power modes? This isn't really connected with the V, but there's the sleep mode, which is easy to do. You'd say instead of a full shutdown, you do a shorter button press, and you're in sleep mode, and you can toggle out of it just as easily. So that's good. There's a question also about will I be able to sell my plugin? So RICOH has announced a Theta store that will be coming. The exact timing is unclear. They have also announced a more official partner program. The exact timing is unclear, but they have said in spring of 2018, so I think it's imminent. The store, the plugin store, will be a great place. You develop your plugin, upload it, you'll be able to, you'll get the visibility, and you'll have the Theta users that are coming to the store to choose between plugins. Selling your plugin there is definitely part of the plan. My understanding is that will be possible. So the whole idea is that developers will have a spot that has high visibility, like I said, where users come, and also you're able to make real revenue through the plugin store. So that's pretty exciting stuff. There are some possibilities of co-marketing and being involved with RICOH as you build the Theta plugins. By all means, contact us, and we can get you more information. In fact, we have a couple last things here as ideas for as we're finishing up. If you send us your APK, so you've been able to grab the SDK, you've got a lot of highly available tools for Android. Why not try building something? Even if you don't have a V, you could still try some testing. If you send us your APK, we'll test it on our Theta Vs and tell you what we see. We can easily do that for you. That would be great. If your a V and you're enthusiastic about developing, send us email. We'd like to connect and unlock your V for you so you can get started. And then there is a technical workshop. The webinar today was quite short, but it's maybe a taste of what's possible. If you want to do more, we're scheduling a technical workshop in the Bay Area, so you have to be local to the Bay Area. But if you're here on Wednesday, May 30th, that's going to be coming up. So if you go to the theta360.guide site, you'll find out all the information that you need there. So there you go. Thank you very much for your time. If we didn't get to your questions, we will answer them individually. Thank you very much. I hope it was a good starting point and you dig in. Take care.